Hello, happy Thursday. I am trying to share this out. Give me a few minutes. Hello, happy Thursday. Good evening. Okay, had to share it out on my social media. Okay, hello for everybody that is just joining. So tonight we're going to be talking about part 3 of the Healing Room series, which is grieving, letting go. So when it comes to grieving, it's not just about death. It's about anything that you lose, whether it's a person, it's a career, it's an environment, things like that. And letting go is not just as simple as walking away. It's an emotional, mental, spiritual, physical toll that takes over you. And it's a normal part of life. But a lot of people don't know how to grieve properly when it comes to letting go. So letting go is just the simple process of removing yourself from anything that you have attached yourself to. Rather it's a relationship, like I said, a career that you got pivoted out of, you moving out of state, out of a city, things like that. It's not just sadness. It's layered emotions. Grief comes in a process. It's not just, I'm just going to get over it. No, grief can take a toll if you don't know how to manage it. So the first point that I'm going to speak on is letting go is not always a choice. Sometimes it's forced. Now, sometimes if you're strong enough, you will make the decision to let go, whatever that is. Other times, God will put you in situations, circumstances will happen where you will have to let go. Sometimes God will just get you up out of there before it takes you up out of there. Both types of those letting go, whether you do it or God does it, it hurts. And voluntary letting go can bring you guilt. So you'll be thinking like, did you make the right decision? While forced letting go can bring feelings of rejection or unfairness. You might feel like, why did this happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? An example would be you didn't want to sell, let's say, your childhood home, but circumstances made it necessary. It wasn't just about the building. It was about the memories, the family, the history that was there. So when letting go is a choice unless God, removes you out of there. And you just have to understand that all things that end have a beginning. Now, rather you allow that new beginning to come in, that's up to you. But anything that you let go of, you always have to keep in mind that it's going to be replaced by something better. So number 2 would be You can grieve something that wasn't good for you. A lot of people just be like, oh, just get over it. It's not that easy. We all done been there, done that. And that's a misunderstood truth, because people think just because it was toxic that you can't grieve over it. But that's not how emotions work. You can miss the good moments. You can miss the routine. You can miss being comfortable. You can miss being familiar with whatever it was, even if the overall situation was damaging, because we're human, right? So we don't just grieve the good things. We grieve what we were emotionally tied to. Did I say tied? Emotionally tied to. Sorry, I'm so tired. So sometimes the grief is about losing the comfortability. It's about losing what was familiar. It's not about losing the person itself. So an example would be, you knew that relationship was manipulative. You knew it was toxic. You just knew you wasn't supposed to be there. But when the breakup happened, you still grieving. You still grieving what it could have been, what you felt when it wasn't toxic, and all those things like that. And that goes into my next topic, which would be, you often grieve what you thought it would be. That's one of the hardest things you have to deal with when you're letting go. You grieve what you thought it would be. Whatever you had planned out, that's what makes it hard to let go sometimes. Because one of the things you'll be grieving, it being familiar. Whether it's the routine, it's the person, you felt safe with them. That's a thing that people, this is why a lot of people do not leave their comfort zones, because it's familiar there. It's comfortable there. You're used to that same routine. So when it's time for you to get exposed to something else, or you're not having that same routine, that same person, it's hard for people to let go. They still stay stuck there. Another reason why you grieve what you thought it would be your identity. Sometimes what we let go of was tied to how we saw ourselves. So if you saw yourself a certain way with the person or whatever it was, that's another thing. That's why a lot of people can't let go, because your identity is tied to the thing. Also, a big one, investment. Years, effort, and the love you poured into something. Whether it's a person, place, or thing. You feel like you invested your time. You're not finna let nobody else come in, take what you put in. And I'll just say this. I'd rather you choose being happy than choosing the history, because a lot of people choose the history and then they be stuck in a cycle. You stay in the same thing over and over and over because you're choosing history over happiness. And that's why a lot of people don't let go, because you spend so much of your time wanting to keep your investment. And some people don't get lucky to get to stay with the same person for years and years and years. Wow, I missed this. Thanks a lot, man. Oh, no problem. You didn't miss it. I'm only on the third topic, but I'll do like a quick review. Also, the last little point in that is your future hopes. So this is what everybody has done and probably will do. You have this ideal picture of what you thought it would be, what you planned out, what y'all talked about, how you seen yourself. That is something that people mourn. Like, you mourn your future hopes or what you thought it would be. Whether it's in the business, like I said, the career, the person. What else did I put on here? Yeah, breakups, business, career. So example would be, you thought you would marry that person, y'all gonna grow old together, y'all gonna do this and that, and something happens and that's not what the end goal is. Even though you had the end goal, what you thought it would be, it didn't work out like that. Or you started a business with dreams of financial freedom, but it failed, and now you're grieving the life that the life you thought success would give you. So I personally dealt with that a lot when I got pivoted into my purpose, because I saw myself a certain way and I had a certain kind of success. And it was just hard for me to deal with being pivoted into something that's considered non-traditional. Like, what I do, you don't really see people doing that for real unless they have been called and equipped to do it. Yeah, you see people getting up here making platforms, but they weren't called to do that. They weren't chose to do that. So I had to get over the fact of, no, you're not going to sell hair. You're not going to do nursing. You're not going to do that anymore. This is what I put you here to do. This is what you're going to have to do. So I grieved that for a very long time because that was hard for me to deal with. When you get pivoted into something that's non-traditional and you're used to traditional, it's hard. Because, I mean, I was used to doing something traditional, right? So that's something that I struggled with. Obviously, I've been with a person or people over my lifetime, and I seen myself at that time thinking it was going to be this, and that wasn't the case. So that's an example. Sometimes the hardest thing to release isn't the person or the thing, it's the hope that you had in it. So number 4, letting go often feels like you're losing yourself. That's because we attach our identity, like I spoke on, to roles, relationship, and titles. And when it's gone, you feel like you about to lose. You just feel like your heart just outside of your chest. That's because you have attached your identity to that thing. And this is true if you've been defined by something for years. It's not that hard to just get over it. So usually you might feel empty. You might feel worthless. You might feel nameless. You might not know what to do with yourself. A lot of people don't know what to do with themselves when they let go of the thing that they were attached to. And the truth of the matter is, you're not losing yourself. You're just shedding a version of yourself that was attached to the thing that you were attached to. And the safety that it brought. So when you release it, it feels like a part of you is dying. And honestly, a part of you will be dying, because when it comes to growth and changing and letting go and getting new things, you're going to have to die to your old self. And you're going to have to do that multiple times throughout your life. If you cannot let go of the old versions of yourself and whatever was attached to that, you're going to have a very hard time. And that means you're going to be stuck to things that you should have been let go of. And I'm holding everybody's hand when I say this. If you are still stuck to things that it's time for you to let go of, it's honestly going to be your fault on what continues to happen to you. Because at the end of the day, you should continue to be growing and moving. I get that we don't want to let people go. I get that we don't want to let jobs go. I get that we don't want to leave an environment. But if you want to become who God has called you to be and your highest self, you're going to have to let go of a lot of things. And a lot of people just can't do that. And I'm sorry to say, if you can't do that, you're going to have a very hard time. And the reason why, like I said, people can't do it is because your identity is attached to whatever it is. If you don't know who you are, you're going to have a very hard time in life. Okay? So, like I said, when you release it, it feels like you're losing a part of yourself. And like I said, you are going to be losing a part of yourself, because that's the part of yourself that has to die. Our mind grieves the connection, our body feels the absence, and our spirit has to find a new anchor. That's how it goes when you let something go. I'll repeat it again. Your mind is grieving the connection, your body feels the absence, and your spirit has to find a new anchor. Your brain it doesn't immediately register that letting go is good for you. It automatically makes you feel like it's the wrong thing to do. That's why it's important when you're on a healing journey to start being honest with yourself. Understand that, okay, like, yeah, this worked before, but now it's not working. Okay, this is what I want, and I need to put myself in alignment to get the thing that I want. So your brain, so you can re-register your brain, because that's all it is. Alignment with God is basically unbecoming everything that you were before, all the habits, whatever you were taught, and learning it a new way. So that's why your brain immediately registers that letting go is not good for you, when in reality, it's the best thing that could happen to you. Grief shows up because your heart still remembers the joy, even if your mind remembers the pain. That's part of being human. So an example would be you being somebody's girlfriend or boyfriend for years, and now it's just you. And it feels strange. That's normal. It's going to feel strange. You've been with somebody for so long. But now it's you. Now you have to focus on getting yourself together and finding out who you are. Okay. Another example would be you were the business owner in your circle, and now without the business, you feel invincible. Letting go. This is a good one that I wrote down. Letting go can strip away false identities so you can rediscover your God-given identity. And like I spoke on that earlier, if you don't know your identity in Christ, you're going to have a hard time, because a lot of people's identities are found in people, are found in things, material things, are finding their man-made titles. Like if whatever you do in your career, a lot of people's identity are in things like that. If you do not know it, put it like this. If you lost all of that today, who would you be? If you can't answer that question, then you don't know who you are in Christ. Those are man-made titles. You could lose all of that today. Life can happen. Your whole world could turn upside down. You have to know your identity. Letting go strips away all the false identities so you can find your God-given identity. Number 5, grief has layers. I don't know if y'all learned this in school or if you went to college. Grief comes in like 5 stages, and I'm going to talk about them. So when you're grieving, you're not moving in a straight line. You might feel okay one day. Tomorrow you might be in shambles. You might go a full week happy. You might go 2 weeks in shambles. This is why people can feel over it for months, and then they can be suddenly be triggered by a song or a picture, or I don't know. It doesn't mean you failed at healing. It just means grief is still moving through you. Grief is a continuous thing, and sometimes it takes people a very long time to get to a point of acceptance. So the 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And so we'll go through them really quick. Denial is when you pretend you fine and you're not. You telling everybody that you okay and you're not. You getting up on the internet posing to be a certain way and you're not that in reality. When reality hits you in the face, you're going through it. That's what denial is. Anger is you resenting that you had to let it go. You're mad. Why did that happen to me? Why I gotta go through this? You say stuff like that. You're angry. Bargaining is when you're trying to keep some part of what you're losing. Like you're trying to hold on, or you're trying to make it work because you don't want to lose it. That's bargaining. Depression is feeling the weight of change in your spirit. Depression is a spirit. Okay. It's a heavy weighing down. Everybody's been depressed. If you're struggling with depression, God bless you. I hope you get through it. But depression is feeling the weight of change in your spirit. A lot of the times you're going to have to seek some outside help. You have to do a lot of different things to get up out of that. And then acceptance. That's the last part of grief, which takes the longest. That's beginning to accept that this is your new reality. And this is you embracing a new chapter without the thing that you had to let go. Takes a very long time. Some people can get through it quicker than others, but most people I know, sometimes it takes them years. And I'm talking about years, because they just don't want to accept the fact that they have to let something go. And I'm not judging anybody, but until you can fully get to acceptance and you can leave a person, you can leave an old thing behind, you're going to be grieving for a while. But I'd rather you take your time in grieving than to be stuck trying to force yourself to get over something. I just would rather people take their time in grieving, because grieving is a process. Good evening. So the many forms of grief, that's kind of similar to what I said, but it's like emotional grief, mental grief, spiritual grief, physical grief. So emotional grief is sadness, crying, screaming, emotional numbness, mood swings. Mental grief is overthinking it, replaying the scenarios, and you have those what if this wouldn't have happened? What if I would have did this right? Well, what if that's mental grief. Spiritual grief is You're wrestling with God's plan and you're questioning why he allowed that loss. When you go on a healing journey, you're going to deal with a lot of spiritual grief because you're going to be trying to wrestle with God's plan and trying to make it work with your plan. And I'm here to tell you, God is God. He going to do what he going to do what he's going to do. And until you get to that acceptance stage, you're going to be trying to wrestle him for years. And honestly, trying to wrestle him, I would say in the beginning, it's normal. We're human. If you just on your faith walk, it's going to be normal for you. It's going to be, and God, God gives us grace, but eventually it's going to get to that point where God is going to continue to allow you to settle on the life that you choose to. So if you keep trying to wrestle him, he's not going to wrestle back. He's just going to allow you to settle on the life that you choose. That would be an example of spiritual grief. Now, physical grief is when it's affecting your body. You're tired. You're not eating. You got body aches, body tension. That's physical grief. So an example of the grief having layers would be, let's say you move away from your hometown to follow God's plans for your life, but you cry for days because you miss where you come from. You don't have no friends, right? It's the comfort of the familiar. Healing is not about erasing all pain. It's about learning to live without being controlled by it. Number 6, a very big one. The temptation to go back when you got to let something go is very real. And everybody has struggled with this. The pain of grief can make you want to return to what you left. This is why so many people go back to unhealthy relationships, habits, or situations. Not because you forgot the pain, but because the pain of the absence feels harder to sit with than the pain of staying. I'm going to say that again. A lot of people go back to unhealthy relationships, habits, and situations, not because they forgot the pain, but because the pain of absence feels harder to sit with than the pain of staying. An example would be, you blocked somebody, your boyfriend, your ex-boyfriend, your sneaky link, whatever you got going on. You blocked them and talked to them for months. Then you unblocked them one day later out of loneliness. You called them out of loneliness. I'm talking to somebody. Only to regret it later. Right? Because what did they say? It's a saying like when what is it? Basically like when somebody, basically you don't go back to something that you either had to pray your way out of, you saw them for who they were. It's some little quote. I can't think of it right now, but it's along those lines. Basically, when somebody show you who they are, you don't go back. Because every time you give somebody a second chance, a lot of the times you regret it. A lot of people have been there, done that. You know you're not supposed to go back and deal with that person. Loneliness, I don't know. Maybe you got drunk and decided to call somebody. You regretted it the next day. Just because it's familiar does not mean it's safe, okay? Just because y'all got years of history don't mean nothing. It literally means nothing. It just means that you spent a lot of time with this person. You gave a lot of this person or this thing in your life. It doesn't mean that it's safe, and it doesn't mean that it's for you. Going back can feel comforting in the moment, but it's going to cause hurt. And usually when you go back to something, like I said, that you're not supposed to be entertaining, you reopen that wound. So the longer you stay in it, the harder it's going to get for you to heal it. And I always tell people this, when it's time for you to let something go, people, places, or things, the longer you stay in it, if it got to get as bad as it's going to get, it's going to get as bad as it's going to get until you get it. And sometimes for some people, it gets really bad. This is how life is. Sometimes it will literally break you until you get it. Because like I always say on a lot of my lives, if you do not learn your lesson, it's going to repeat until you get it. That's life. The whole point of life is to keep evolving and getting to the place and become the person that God has called you to be. So if you still holding on and you still running back, you're going to have a hard time. It's just like in Exodus with the Israelites. Did not want to do what God told them to do. An 11-day trip took them 40 years. It's in the Bible. This is what happens in real life. It's called disobedience. You're not doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing because you don't want to let it go. Okay, so don't let it go then. If 5 years of your life pass you by and you still going through the same cycles, it ain't nobody's fault. It's not lifing. It's not childhood trauma. It's not this and it's not that. It's you. Because you had the signs in the beginning and you chose to ignore them. So, again, the temptation of going back is real, but you got to think about what it's going to cost you. Because it's going to cost you. Every time you return to something that you were supposed to let go, it's going to cost you. I don't know how it's going to cost you, but it's going to cost you. You have to let it go. You have to. It's going to hurt, and it's going to be hard, but I'd rather you pick which hard you're going to accept. You're either going to stay there and everything that comes with that is going to be hard, or you're going to let go through the motions, and then find your way. Because sometimes it's just like holding on to a rope. Sometimes holding on to a rope does more damage than it does letting go. If you've ever played tug of war, you know how when you hold the rope, it burns? Same thing. Holding on will do more damage than it will to let it go. Number 7. So true. It is true. So number 7 would be letting go is an act of trust in God. Releasing something is about trusting that God knows what he's doing. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know. But you have to let God cook. God know what he's doing. It's believing that his no is for your good, even when you don't understand it. Because truth be told, when God tell you to let go of something, when God tell you to move, you're not going to understand it right away. And a lot of people get stuck and they get left and they miss their mark because you don't do it when he tell you to do it. You're not going to understand it at first. He's not even going to give you revelations of it until later on down the road, because he lets you know things on a need to know basis. If God let us know every single detail of our life and the things that we had to go through, who wouldn't be doing it, right? So you have to understand that his no is for your greater good. Letting go says, God, I trust your plan more than my preference, more than my feelings. You not leaning on your own understanding. Y'all ever heard that? Do not lean on your own understanding. It's a real thing. Because when you lean on your own understanding, it gets you in stuff. It just be too much, honestly. Been there, done that. Until I learned how to fully surrender, that's when I understood why we don't lean on our own understanding. Your own understanding gonna get you in trouble. Sometimes the blessing is in the loss. It is. Until you can get to a certain part of your healing, on your healing journey, you'll understand that that the loss was the blessing. But you won't be able to see that until time passes, until you have done the work. An example would be, you thought you married somebody, but the breakup caused you years of pain, and you didn't know that were coming. And then later you meet the person that God actually had for you. But sometimes you won't meet the person that God has for you if you don't let go of who you still trying to hold on to. One thing about God ain't gonna never take something away from you and not replace it with something better. You got God's best and you got good. And it's always up to you on which one you choose. God's best and you have good. It can be good, but it's not the best. It's not what God wanted for you. So you always have to decide, do you want what God wants to give you, or do you want what you want to give you? And also, when you learning how to trust God in the act of letting go, when you let it go, do not expect for it to come right away. It's not how God works. You have to go through a season, especially when you have to let something go. whether it's a person, place, or thing, and then it's yourself, whoever you were attached to those things, you have to go through a process of pruning, shedding, and crushing. Sometimes that takes time, right? My last point would be how to walk through the grief. So how do we get through all of the things that I was talking about? The first part is admitting it. Say you grieving whatever you grieving. You have to write it down. You have to acknowledge it. If you go to therapy, you have to tell the truth. If you have good friends, people who can give you good advice, they are not biased and they can give you some faith-based advice too, tell them the truth. And always make sure you got people, you got community. That's what She Believes is community, right? You need people who have been where you are, who will not judge you, who can help you get through things. This is the only way you're going to be able to heal. You have to get around people who are going to help pull you up and who are not going to drag you down. So the first part, like I said, will be acknowledge it. The second one is a big one. Please give yourself permission to feel. It is okay to feel the feelings that you feel. To heal, I tell people this all the time. To heal is to feel. To heal is to feel. Tears are not weakness. They just release. If you got to cry for days, cry for days. If you got to get on the phone and tears come out over the phone, cry. Give yourself permission to feel. You're a human. We have emotions for a reason. But feeling is a part of healing. You can't go through it and trying to numb yourself. And like I said in one of my other lives, you can't shortcut it and you can't try to mask it with whatever people like to do. Partying, drugs, sex. You can't do that. You have to feel the feelings. That's the only way you can get through it. The next thing, which I was just saying, find safe places, which is community. People who can hold space for you without rushing your process, without judging you. Because truth of the matter is, a lot of people, I'm gonna just say this, because since this is my purpose, I understand. A lot of people don't want to heal. They don't want the resources. They don't want it, right? They don't want it. And why don't people want it? Because it takes time. You got to put in work. People want the other things. People want money. Like, we all want money, but money is a tool. That's a conversation for another time, though. Nobody wants to heal. Nobody wants to become their better selves. And I'm not saying like people on this live. I'm just saying as a whole, like society, they don't want that. Because it requires work. A lot of people just don't want to put that work in. And that's why you see people who are stuck in place, just stuck in life because they don't want to do the hard work. So when it comes to finding safe places, like I said, get around people who do the work. I have a video on my page. I don't know if I have posted it yet. Posted it on my TikTok. People who do the work need people who do the work. It's a non-negotiable. It's not going to work. If you doing the work and then you're around a whole bunch of people that's not doing the work, it's going to pull you back. It's going to set you back. So just make sure you in a space where people can hold space for you to process what you're processing and who's going to be there with you every step of the way. The next part would be replace. Don't just remove. So fill the space with new routines, healthy connections, and purpose. Don't just remove it and then don't do nothing. Find something to fill the space. Not alcohol, not drugs, not sex, not partying. Routines, healthy connections, and purpose. The last part would be lean on God's comfort. Read scriptures in the Bible. If you got to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you got to go to church, go to church. If you got to go sit in your car or something, prayer room, sit there in silence. An example would be, let's say you stop talking to somebody that you was talking to every single day. You can start a new morning routine where you talk to God instead. Let's say you won't ever even talking to God. You so used to talking to this person every single day, all day. So when you walking through your grief, that would be you replacing it. You didn't just remove it. You put something in a spot that was healthy. You decided to talk to God instead. There is still a connection, and it's a life-giving connection. That would just be an example. So I don't think I spoke on this. When letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. So sometimes people think that if they let it go, it must mean it wasn't that important. Some people will tell you that. That's not true. Grief, that's the whole point of grieving, because it existed. It did matter at some point in time. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't feel anything. So understand that letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. So I always give journal prompts right at the end. So some journal prompts will be, what am I grieving right now that I haven't given myself permission to feel? Number 2 will be, what did I hope this relationship, job, or season would become? That's a question that you need to answer, because that's going to help you get through letting go whatever you're attached to. Number 3, what part of your identity feels tied to what you lost? That's a big one. Number 4, where in your life are you tempted to go back just to avoid feeling the pain? Please write that question down. If you are a person who cannot, society like to call it spinning the block. If you're a person who be spinning the block and you let people spin the block on you, you need to write that question down. Where in your life are you tempted to go back just to avoid feeling the pain? Because it's going to help you. And number 5, what is one truth from God's word you can hold on to as you let go? So, grief of letting go is heavy, like I said. It comes with being a human. It's a part of life. But it's also holy if you choose to let it be. If you choose to go through the motions, feel it, it can be holy. It could change your life. You can meet the person. You can find your purpose. You can get the things that God always wanted you to have. But you're going to have to let it go. You're going to have to let something go. You don't go through this life not letting nothing go. And the thing about pivoting is a big part of life. I'm the pivoting princess. I can't tell you how many times my life has to keep starting over. I will start my life over 1,000 times. I'm not scared of that. But I'm scared of not changing, of being stuck. I would be scared if I would have never let none of that stuff go. Even though it was hard. Like, it was hard. I'm not going to lie. But I got through it. Because I knew that if God was calling me out of it, it was something that he wanted to give me. It was something bigger than I could ever imagine. I would have never seen myself having no platform and eventually speaking to people. I ain't got there yet, but it's coming. My voice is my gift. I used to get in trouble in school. My mama still got my progress reports all throughout school, talking too much. Come to find out, that is my purpose. I speak life into people, right? So I said all that to say is, I would have rather let it go than to stay stuck holding on to something that no longer served me. It served its purpose. Now it's time to get into purpose. That's a good one. It served its purpose. Now it's time to get into purpose. So God can fill you with whatever is truly meant for you. You can honor the good and release the bad and still believe that better is ahead. Because it's not an end. It's a transition. I always think of it like that too. When you let something go, just think of it like you're just transitioning into something better. Easier said than done, but endings are beginnings. Every time somebody dies, somebody is born. Just think of it like that. Every time something dies in your life, something else is going to be born. So that was tonight's word, the grief of letting go. the goal isn't to just get over it. It's to name it, it's to understand it, and it's to find peace as you walk through it. That's the whole point of grieving, letting go. Because you can't just get over it. And I hate when people be like, just get over it. It don't work like that. Feel what you feel, but don't stay stuck in it. Please don't stay stuck in it. You got to feel it and you got to keep moving because life goes on. Regardless, life goes on. And you don't ever want to just be stuck in a cycle, like I told y'all. Because cycles don't break until you break them. Nobody else is coming to break that cycle. Letting go is hard. I keep saying it. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. But you can do it. You just have to want to do it. Let me just say that. You have to want it. You have to want to do it. You have to not want to go back to that thing. You have to not want to go back to that person. You have to not want to go back to the career that you always thought you was going to be in with me. Until somebody told me, like, this is what God called you to do, and you keep trying to go run back to this because it's comfortable. When in reality, I'm shrinking myself. And then God's sitting here like, okay, well, you're still going to be uncomfortable. You keep asking me for these things. I want to give it to you, but you're not doing what I told you to do. You want to go back when I'm trying to pull you this way. Same thing. So you got to want it because ain't nobody else going to want it for you. Find you a community of people who are going to support you, who are going to be there because it's hard. It's going to hurt. You're going to cry. And just cry, baby. Just cry. Shoot. Sometimes I like to cry because I feel better after I do cry. But very good word. Thank you. Oh, let me see what I'm talking about next week. Because this series is an 8-part series. Let me see. Ooh. So next week's topic is when you're tired of being the strong one. That's a part of the Healing Room series next week. When you're tired of being the strong one. I felt that one. Yeah, so that's what I'll be talking about next week. Be on the lookout for my prayer book that drops next Friday. Because prayer does work. I don't care what nobody say. Prayer does work. Prayer is a part of healing. It's a part of your healing journey. If you're not praying, I don't know what to tell you, baby. Praying is a part of your healing journey. I wrote these prayers. I went back in and I redid this whole entire book over last week. And I added some extra stuff. So it's a good book. It's for everyday battles and breakthroughs. If you struggling with a soul tie, if you struggling with anxiety, if you struggling with procrastination, if you want to have godly friends, if you want to have the relationship that God wants for you, all of this type of stuff, wisdom, discernment, I got it in the book. Everything that you need, I got it in there. I promise. I ain't gonna tell y'all all the topics, but those are some of the most common topics, stuff that people struggle with. Soul ties is why a lot of people can't let people go. Soul ties. So if you having trouble letting somebody go, I need you to get that book. I need you to pray that prayer, right? Got to break free. We got to break free so we can be free. So if don't nobody have any questions, I'm going to get off of here. Let's see if anybody comments because I was just talking. No? Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a good night and a blessed weekend. Stay safe, and I will see you guys next Thursday at the same time. We will be talking about Tired of Being the Strong One on the Healing Room series. So, talk to you guys later. Bye.